So after already working out for over a decade, I managed to gain an additional 25 pounds within the past year. Now, obviously not all of that is muscle. As you can see, I gained some fat as well, but I think a safe estimate of 15 pounds of muscle is reasonable. That's a fairly substantial amount of lean tissue to gain while staying natural after already being at your genetic limit and having trained for 10 plus years. Important part to note is that due to some limitations and injuries, I'm only training arms and legs. I'm not currently able to do chest, back, and shoulders, but I've still been able to see progress and add mass in the arms and the legs and see some kind of spillover upper back, shoulders, and chest gains from pushing the arms to the max. What I want to talk about more specifically, though, is 5 things that I started doing differently with my training over this past year that led to additional results. In doing more and more extreme things, your body will adapt by adding additional muscle. And that's what I've seen within the past year. And so I want to share that with you guys. So the 5 things that I started doing differently, number 1 is really focusing on upping the weight. So previously, I was maybe a bit more focused on doing a ton of volume or focused on getting a pump, getting as much blood into the muscle as possible. I sort of put those things to the side and hyper focused on progressive overload and increasing the amount of weight I can do each workout. So I'm tracking my workouts, and every session I'm going in and trying to do another rep with the given weight, or once I get to the higher end of the rep range, which I'm usually working in the 8 to 15 rep range, then I'll bump the weight up. And I'm focused solely on this process of being able to move more weight within the 8 to 15 rep range. And I've seen that to probably be the single most potent thing that leads to additional muscle gain. The second thing is utilizing longer rest times. So I found a 3 to 10 minute rest time for an individual muscle group in between each set to be the most effective. And obviously 10 minutes is a bit extreme. I started out earlier in the year using about a 3 to 5 minute window, and I'm always experimenting and moving things around. And as I adjusted and increased this rest time window, I saw more and more progress in the amount of weight that I could move and subsequently the amount of muscle that I was able to build. And so for muscle groups like your arms that you can superset or your chest and back that you can superset, I would recommend, if you're going to do this extended rest time, to hit your biceps and then rest 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever you want to do. I'm doing 5 minutes, and then hit the triceps and then rest another 5 minutes. So by the time you get back to your biceps, you've got a 10-minute rest time. So you're letting that muscle fully recover. And I've found this to enhance my ability to put together as much quality sets as I can. Whereas shortening the rest time, you're going to increase the pump, you're going to increase the burn, but I just didn't see it lead to a significant muscle gain. And after doing that for many, many years, the next part would be using different tempos. And I think this sounds kind of gimmicky, and when I first stumbled onto it, I was a little surprised or shocked that it was leading to such a different response in the amount of muscle I'm putting on. And specifically what I'm doing is when I'm focusing on progressive overload and I'm focusing on trying to move a lot of heavy weight for more reps, I'm using a more explosive, fast tempo. So I still want to control the weight, but I'm trying to add a little bit of burst. And I found this to lead to more strength gain over time, and which in turn leads to more muscle gain. So, 6 months in the past, I was doing the dumbbell tricep extensions with 95 pounds for 14 reps, and now I can do it for 105 pounds for 14 reps. That's led to a significant muscle gain and strength in my triceps. And specifically, using that faster tempo seemed to encourage this process. And now, towards the end of the workout, I'll use a super, super slow tempo, where I lower the weight some. I do a series of drop sets. So for the triceps extensions behind the head, I'll start out with a 95 pound dumbbell, and I'll do a super slow tempo, like a 4-second negative, maybe even like a 2 or 3 second positive. And I'm just moving that weight super, super slow and focusing on getting a really good stretch in the muscle. And then doing a series of drop sets where I take that set to failure and then I rest like 20 seconds, drop the weight a little bit, do another set, and I'll do that like 5 times. So the combination of this really fast explosive tempo with this super slow controlled tempo, where in the fast I'm really focusing on trying to move heavy weight, in the slow I'm just focusing on getting a good stretch and a burn. The combination of those two things I've found to be really potent in leading to additional results over the past year. Fourth thing will be increasing intensity. So I've always trained with a good amount of intensity, and I think this is something that a lot of people miss. But in particular, within the last year, I've upped that intensity even more, where I attack my sets with a vengeance, and I try to murder the dumbbell. And I think if you are at your supposed genetic potential or hit a plateau, that using good form, warming up properly, but then channeling some like really reckless, intense energy, primal attack into your sets. And it sounds a little bit like over the top, but I found that to be really significant in allowing me to push my body to do more than it did in the last workout. And I don't think if you just don't bring that edge, I think it's hard to push yourself to gain more, and then you're going to convince yourself that you've met your genetic limit and you're not going to make any more progress. The last thing I'll mention, number 5, is the drop set finisher, which I kind of talked a little bit about already, where at the end of the session, I do a series of drop sets for my triceps and for my biceps, where I start with like a moderate to heavy weight, and I do super slow controlled reps, and then I drop the weight, rest 20 seconds. I find it's more effective to take a little bit of a rest and not go immediately into the next set because I'm still out of breath. So I try to catch my breath a little bit before I go into the next set. Boom, boom, boom. I do 5 of those. And I found that, although it's very opposite to the extended rest time with heavier weight, I found the combination of the two to be quite effective, and that this finisher is like an intensity technique where you're just maxing out the intensity and pushing beyond failure. You take the muscle to failure with a weight, you don't let it fully recover, you just rest a short window, you drop the weight so you can do more reps, then you drop the weight again so you can do more reps. So you're kind of pushing into failure and beyond failure, you're intensifying the workout, you're really maximizing the intensity and fatigue on the muscle. I found that to be also a fairly potent stimulator of growth. So I think a lot of people get stuck in what is thought as your genetic potential. And if you look at my physique a year ago, you could say, yeah, I mean, the guy's been working out for many years. He's in reasonable shape. He's put some muscle on, and this is probably his genetic limit. He's plateaued. He's not going to be able to gain any additional mass unless he starts taking steroids or doing something crazy. And in reality, what I've found is that you're at the current genetic potential, or your current potential, or the cap that you put on yourself, is dictated by your current mental state of what you view as the way to train. And if you change the way you're thinking and how you approach training, you could potentially change your physical body more. And I think where a lot of people hit their genetic plateau is actually just a mental plateau, where they've done kind of the basics of what you should do. You're consistent, you train hard, you focus on progressive overload, you do like a moderate amount of volume, you follow like a typical split frequency, you're hitting each muscle group once or twice a week. Doing that gets you to what your genetic potential is for most people. And I've found that there's an additional gear. There's many additional gears that you can go to if you're willing to continue to push yourself harder and expand your thought process around your training. I hope that helps you with your training, and maybe you can factor some of those things into your approach. If you feel like you're stuck in a plateau, go there and make some freaking arm gains, baby.